Well, good afternoon. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Click your live stream tab or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG Network. I'm Celeste Giordano, your show host, along with Sherita Herring, my co-host for Global Legacy and Wealth Building for the next hour. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. We also have our YouTube channel, and we have some new platforms that you can download our free mobile apps at the Apple. Go to the Apple Store for WCEG Talk Radio. Same thing for the TV. And last but not least, our disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. And good afternoon, ladies. How are you?
Just fine.
Great.
Phenomenal. Thank you.
It is wonderful to see each and every one of you. And I want to, first and foremost, I want to thank WCEG Network, Penny Rogers, and our board for this wonderful opportunity and platform to bring amazing guests like we have here today, Sherita. And we get to do this twice a month, and it's an honor and a blessing. But I also would like for us to take just a few seconds and have a moment of silence, of prayer for a couple of things. We know of the tornadoes that touched down in Mississippi, and many people lost their lives. We have some bad weather that hit Georgia, but we also just yesterday had the school shooting in Nashville. So I'd like for us to take about 30 seconds and just have a moment of silence for those people, please. All right. Thank you very much for that. So, Sherita.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have an amazing guest with us here today, and I'm going to have Deirdra tell about herself. I think I'll have her tell about herself, and then I will say the few things that I would like to say about this wonderful lady. But Deirdra Cox is from Lawrenceville, Georgia. She is the founder and president of Community Sustainability Enterprises. And Deirdra, we are so glad to host you here today. You have a mountain of knowledge, and you're a shaker and mover in the Gwinnett County and the chamber there. So would you be so kind to tell our audience a little bit about you and your company, please?
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to WCEG. I want to say thank you, Celeste. Sherita, thank you for having me. And thank you to your audience. It's always a pleasure when I get to hang out with some powerhouse women. So hello, powerhouse ladies, leading ladies.
Yes.
Yes. So, before the show started, we were talking about some of my lineage, my great grandfather and my father. So, I've got some roots in Kansas City, Missouri, but, I'm Deirdra Cox, and I'm the president and founder of Community Sustainability Enterprise. And I'm founder, right? So the founders have a very special place in my heart because God impregnates us with an idea, a vision, and then he allows us to give birth to it. He allows us to carry the vision. And then once the vision has been given birth to, then it's a matter of really stewarding the vision. So I get to steward the vision of Community Sustainability Enterprise. We are an economic and community development focused 501c3. Where did that come from? It came from the 36 years I spent in banking. Those of you who know who Jimmy Carter is, and God bless him, and we thank God for him. But Jimmy Carter instituted something in the banking world called the Community Reinvestment Act. And what does that mean? It means that when a bank has a bank branch, when they've got footprint, when they are taking in deposits, they're responsible for serving all socioeconomic levels in the community. So low income, middle income, upper income, but there's a specific focus on low income. So what we do here at Community Sustainability Enterprise is we champion economic mobility. So we go into low income, high potential communities, and we rally the troops, and we support them with four pillars: mental and physical wellness, educational attainment, workforce career development, and financial literacy and capability, so that ultimately wealth building through the vehicle of sustainable small business and through affordable home ownership can become their new normal. So that's who we are, and that's what we do. And I'm living out my purpose.
Well, thank you so much, Deirdra, for sharing that. And I know you're also very active in the Gwinnett Chamber there. Is that true?
Very much so. And that's another family story. And you tell me when I can tell that story.
Absolutely. And I know, Sherita, I apologize. I probably should have asked you to introduce yourself first, but since we're going to have a good forum here today with all three of us and nonprofits, would you tell our audience and listeners a little bit about you and your nonprofit, please?
Well, I am the founder of the Philanthropy Alliance Foundation, formerly the Creative Images Foundation. Have been in business since 1994 and have worked with clients and individuals all over the globe, including 14 countries. So I'm just excited to be here co-hosting with you, Celeste, and meeting this new powerhouse woman here as we are getting to the close of Women's Empowerment Month.
Absolutely.
Women's History Month.
Absolutely. And this is our nonprofit show. So we do a show twice a month. The second Tuesday of the month is our for-profit show, and sometimes we have nonprofits, but specifically our second show each month is the fourth Tuesday of the month, and it's our nonprofit show. And we like to highlight and spotlight amazing nonprofits and their organizations and the things that they're doing in our communities, not necessarily just in Georgia, but internationally. Sherita, earlier this month, we had one of your guests, and as a friend of ours now, thank you for introducing me to her, but we had from somebody from Paris on here. I'm sorry, the name's not right on top of my head. And what was Dr. Wells? Yes. The Wells Foundation out of Texas, correct?
She's founded out of Texas, but she's been in Paris over 20 years.
Absolutely. So we had a great show there. And also Sarah Poe and I are the co-founders of Women of Community Impact, which is a nonprofit organization that we partner with other nonprofits in our communities in Georgia, as well as Ohio and Northern Kentucky. And what we do is we help different organizations where we give back to the community, whether it be homeless women and children, whether it be foster children, families with cancer, or people with cancer. I mean, there's just a wide spectrum of people that we partner with, and we help these people that are not as fortunate as we are. So we're grateful and blessed to be a part of that. And I'm ready to dive in to hear all about Miss Deirdra Cox. And I'm going to let you start us off, Miss Sherita, if you would, with some questions for Deirdra.
First thing is, share your leadership journey with us.
My leadership journey. And I'm gonna say this because I love my name. My name is actually pronounced Deirdra. So it's like you're writing a letter, dear, and then dra. So my leadership story, I think it really began just because of some of the things we were talking about in my childhood. I was an only child to my father and my mother. So there was some leadership that I had to take on. And I don't know that we as women, we realize that we are leading even when we don't know that we're leading, because there was some bumpy, rocky roads that I went through, and God allowed me to go through them. And what God has shown me here recently is that everything is necessary. And even as a child, I recognized that some of the things that were going on in my life, that they were necessary. There was a higher calling in my life. So if I can just, from a leader's perspective, think that as leaders, we've got to recognize there's a higher calling in our life. Now, when we talk about the business world, right? Some of those same personality traits, people called it bossy. I called it directing things. So some people called me an irritant. I call it a disruptor. So some of those character traits were always prevalent in me. But when I got into the banking industry, I like to say that it was by accident, but nothing's ever by accident, right? But I've always been around leaders. I've always been around strong people who were pulling out the greatness in me, even at the times that I couldn't see it. So I was always in a leadership position, always the one thinking through what's next, always the one sharing vision, So God's always given me vision. Now my leadership story is one where banking, I love banking, loved it, experienced so many amazing things in banking. And that was even a leadership story. You know, when you go into an industry, you can stay in one place, but I never stayed in one place. I always wanted to see what else was going on. I wanted to know what made the wheel turn and what made the ROI the ROI. So my leadership story, it really began in the womb. And where I am right now, I'm still utilizing and just building on the skills and the personality traits that I've had from a child. So I continually grow. And I think that leadership journey for me has always been about a growth trajectory, because I never feel content. Although the Bible tells us to be content, but there's always more to learn, because I feel like as long as we're here, there's something greater to learn. So I don't know if that answered the question, but we'll get into more John Maxwell leadership as you see fit.
All right. And you may be lagging a little bit here, so I don't know how the internet connection is where you are, or if it's on our end, but your picture is frozen. So just want to maybe check that if you would, please.
Okay.
And, one thing about leadership also, I just gave a talk last week. Leadership can also be that mother with 3 children going to the grocery store, in silence. You talk about the silence part, it's the mother toting, 3 children in the grocery store and buying groceries for the family. It can be a caregiving for an elderly couple of this name. Those are leadership qualities as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Celeste, as I was listening to Deirdra, and how she talked about what she demonstrated even as a young child, I think you and I have talked about that studies reflect or reveal that we are who we are and start showing our qualities by the time we're 5 years old. And Deirdra, when I was listening to you saying that you were always attracted to those individuals that are in leadership roles, it reminds me of what I saw just this morning on Facebook, how it had an eagle and there was a crow on his back, and they said that it would peck on his head, but it didn't bother him because all he had to do was keep going, flying to the heights that he can go.
Yes.
And then that crow couldn't fly that high. So Deirdra, I'm listening to you, you're attracted to them because you're an eagle, and you were an eagle even as a child. And I'm saying this, you guys, because there's going to be people that are listening to our show that may not realize that they have those same traits that Deirdre's talked about. They have those eagle traits, and they have to know that as they are flying higher, they're going to be looking for their other eagles, because chickens can only hang with the eagles so long, crows can only hang with eagles so long, and so like are attracted to like. That's what I was getting to, Deirdra.
That's powerful, Sherita. Am I still frozen, ladies? Am I still frozen?
No, you're doing good now.
Okay.
All right. So what has been your greatest challenge as a female leader in your industry? I bet we could talk a long time on that one.
So many industries are quote male dominated, but let's stick with the eagle because I like it, because the eagle perspective. See, everything in life is about perspective, right? So when you see yourself as a victor, when you see that everything is necessary for your growth, you never see yourself as a victim. So being in the banking industry, coming into the banking industry, feeling in my mind, I felt somewhat insecure because I was one of the only African-American females, and a female, right, in the boardroom. I was not from Georgia. So I'm going to talk about my Georgia experiences, right? Because, I lived in California for a while. California was a bit of a different animal. And it was interesting because my father was on television. So when people saw me, they saw him. So there was another level of, I don't even know if it was respect, but there was another level of reverence that people had. But coming to Georgia and being the northerner, the Yankee, so there were 3 things: the Yankee, the woman, and the Black woman. So they called me the loud Black woman in the boardroom. Oh, and then there was a fourth. There was a fourth one, the Community Reinvestment Act. Bankers said, nobody wants to talk about that. I think there was ain't nobody trying to hear all that. But because the banking industry here, they perceived CRA as a handout. So whenever I would show up in the boardroom and we were talking about facts and figures and statistics and events that we were going to have, people would go, I could hear them murmuring, here she goes. talking about that thing again. That was the most challenging things in my life. But I'm going to tell you, Celeste, Greg Shoemate, you know the Shoemates. Greg Shoemate kept telling me, you never let them see you sweat. God has always sent people in my life that saw me.
You're
So
freezing
I
up.
can
You're freezing up a little bit on us, Deirdra.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my video off because sometimes because it's a little windy where I am right now. I'm going to turn my video off. So hopefully that helps my audio.
Okay.
And let's see if that works.
Sounds better.
Okay. But those were some challenging times. But again, it was that eagle perspective because to your point, Sherita, I had to keep rising because there was something in me that had something to say. And I believed in the people that I was working with, because I remember feeling like I was nothing as a child. And that's where my leadership capabilities came in. That's where they kicked in. So that's why I always fought for the voiceless. And it was those days like the woman, those four things, the woman in the room, the Black woman in the room, the CRA queen is what they called me. So those were some hard days, but I made it.
Yes, yes. You know, so often hearing you say that in the nonprofit arena, and Celeste, without a doubt, you have experienced this. People think that nonprofit means, first of all, you can't make a profit, and any time to deal with you in business, that it has to be on a poor man's perspective. But people don't realize the nonprofit arena, again, is the third largest business sector in the United States. It is a $1 billion industry. And so, again, for our listeners, please know that to hold your head high, that you're an eagle in whatever it is that you're doing, and then educate people about that nonprofit doesn't mean that you can't make a profit, and that you are a major player in the economics of the United States. So Deirdra, and I'm sure you're totally aware of that.
Very aware, so much so that I have always seen the nonprofit arena as it's about mission, it's mission-based work, right? But it's also about asset-based community development. Each of us here on this call, we all have a gift or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 that God has given us. And when we learn to monetize those gifts will make room for us. The word says that. So I now see our nonprofit, we're subject matter experts at a lot of things. So now what we're doing is we're providing services to our nonprofit brothers and sisters who don't have necessarily that same skill set, so that we can come together as a collaborative force to be reckoned with and make greater impact. So absolutely, because there's pay for performance that's associated with that. So because it's a business.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Deirdra, Penny, our host here, is saying that what we need to do is have your video go on when Sherita and I are talking, because for our audience and our listeners via Zoom and as well as Facebook Live and YouTube, they're just seeing Sherita and I sit here listening to you. And so when we speak, we need to have you show your face in the video, if you don't mind. Let's try that again, okay?
Absolutely.
So when you
are talking, yes.
I do appreciate that. And, and I love the story about the eagle. I remember in the direct sales in the late 1978, one of our motivational speakers was Ernie Villanueva, and he did a whole series about the eagle. And so I learned about that eagle a long time ago. And again, you want to fly with the eagles. You can't hang down here with the turkeys and the chickens, although Sherita does a lot of good work with her chickens and on the barnyard friends. But, we want to be up there with the eagles, and we want to fly with the eagles, and we want to be servant leaders with those eagles.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Very good.
And again, with us speaking of that, turkeys have their place, chickens have their place. And so it's just like a lot of people found during COVID that they were not entrepreneurs. They were not those self-starters, and they couldn't wait to get back to work. But for those that are, we need workers and we need the supervisors. And so it doesn't downplay that someone is not an eagle. It's just we all are more comfortable in different places and what our abilities are. And so so again, for the listeners, sometimes to be an eagle, that means that you're putting in those extra long hours, you're working those weekends, you're working till 11 o'clock at night, and some people just want to cut off at 5,
And if
so it
I can
depends
say
on
this
what we choose. Yeah.
and I'm sorry for interrupting. If I can just say this, I think it's very important for all of us as individuals to do individual SWOT analysis on ourselves, our strengths, right? Our weaknesses, our
Yes.
opportunities, and our threats, because then we're aware. And I
Mhm.
feel that there's so many people that are in life that are unaware of that specific gift and skill set they have. Because even when you have a strength, there's still some things you got to work on so that they can become strengths and not remain weaknesses. So
Mhm.
I'm in complete agreement with you on that, Sherita. Everybody's not called for everything, but I feel that we have a specific responsibility to know who we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And everybody doesn't respond to the same way. I mean, that we have different types of tests out there that help us with our personalities and sales and things of this nature. And, we have, blueprints, action people, we have nurturers, we have knowledge people, and they don't all respond out of a cookie cutter type of environment. Everybody responds differently. And that's part of leadership, knowing how to get people to respond and to do good, because certain things may make Sherita do one thing, but it may make somebody else do something different.
Yes. And I see that we've got another one of our sister eagles on, Miss Clayton.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Good to have you, Myrna. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
And we're gonna have you introduce you in just a few minutes, okay? We'll do your background and everything. So was there ever a moment on your professional journey that you wanted to quit?
Yes. So my husband passed away about 19 years ago. He had colon cancer. We had been through quite a bit. And I thought when I married David, I said, I married my sweetheart and life is good. And, I was the one that was always working until 10 and 11 o'clock at night. And he was the one that was at home putting the kids to bed. So I was like, God, what is this? I didn't sign up for this. So, I was a single parent before I met my husband and ended up being a single parent again. Again, as I said earlier, ladies, it was necessary, right? So I became a single parent again, and it seemed as though it was so hard that I was not going to be able to press on and press through raising a child. My daughter was 7 years old. That was the time that I wanted to quit.
I'd imagine that, especially when some things happen suddenly. So then, with that being said, how do you balance family, work, and relaxation?
So it's become my life. And I thank God. I tell people all the time, it's Jesus and therapy for me. Jesus and therapy, understanding my eagle trajectory when I was a kid. I didn't get it all then. So, at multiple decades in my life, I thought I was a victim. Okay. So Jesus and therapy for me. So I have continuously growing my spiritual life and my spiritual foundation. So I now know whose I am and who I am. And that's where the balance comes in, because you can't be off balance, because when you're off balance, the Lord will let you know. And can I just say this too, for all of the powerhouse women out there, when you are doing too much, your mind and your body will let you know. It's so very important that we understand the correlation between mind and body, because when I'm cray, it's because I have put too much in one basket and I am off balance. So I'm happy to say I know me now, because God has shown me who I am and what my limitations are. I love going to the beach. I love powering down, and I'm going to give myself that time. I love a good 7 hours of sleep. I'm going to give myself that.
Without the guilt feelings.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. And I think people have to have planned time off. And we talk about a balance in my consulting business with my clients. And that, the first thing that you put in your monthly calendar is all your spiritual things that you're going to do, whether it's church, your Bible studies, your teachings, whatever it is, that's going to be the first thing that's going to go into your calendar. The second thing that's going to go into the calendar is your family, whether it be extracurricular activities with your children, something to do with your spouse, if there's something you need to do there. I encourage a date night once a week, different things like this. And then we're going to fill the rest of it up with our careers and things that we need to do. And the serving goes in part of the spiritual journey. I always put that up there, the serving part with the spiritual. And then you have that balance. So now you're looking at it as a whole for a whole month. And you know what? The nice thing is we have the choice that when something comes up and says, okay, I'm supposed to go to church today, that should be a top priority, and that's where you go. But if you have another option that comes up in there, then that's on you, whether you change that or focus that in a different direction. And whether it be, for a date night or whatever, these certain things that you do not have a gray area in. In other words, it's real simple. If it's on this calendar, if it's important to me, then it's my choice if I choose to change it or I stay with it. And then you put your planned time off. And I think that you should have some fun planned time off every month, that you do something fun and you do self-care for yourself. People talk about it, but until you write it down and you look at it in a calendar, that's amazing, the results you can get when you're looking at that and seeing where your time is going, because most leaders sometimes don't know where all their time's going.
Mm-hmm. Did it used to be that studies had shown that the male counterparts of marriage usually died earlier than women. Well, now it's even, if not, and oftentimes women are leaving here sooner, transitioning sooner. But that's when women weren't working and they were doing things more in the home front. Do you know that studies show now that men on average spend 9 to 12 hours a week in leisure time versus what women do? So that's almost 50 hours a month or in leisure time. And so, and when I saw the study, the guy was laying on the couch and the wife was vacuuming and she had the baby on her hip. And remember that commercial, you can fry up the bacon, put it in the pan and never, ever, let him forget he's a man, So it was bragging about how women could do it all. But we were in that mode for so long that, like Celeste, like you're saying, we forget about our self-care. And that's very, very important as we keep saying that we proclaim to be powerhouse women. We have to be a powerhouse and take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have to plan that time off. We have to have that me time. We have to have a balance around it. And it's harder to do less than it is to do more, in my opinion. That's just me. I mean, you can pour it on, and as long as I got a plan of action and I've got my calendar, I can take on the world with it. But if I'm so like, well, what do I want to do here today? What do I need to do here? And I don't have anything going on, that's hard. That is hard to live that life.
Yeah. Celeste, I was going to say that I was going to let you step in, and I know you've got probably a burning question to ask her.
I was going to ask her, who are the people you hold close in your inner circle?
My inner circle. So, my grandparents are not alive anymore. So, my siblings and I, we've had some challenges. So I will just say that Jesus, first and foremost, my daughter, I love my daughter because my daughter was a miracle baby. And I have got folks that are they're skin folk, not kin folk. So I believe that in your life, it's important that you have somebody who sees you as the eagle, right? And that sees you where God has called you to be, and then people who are going to push you. So they see when you get tired, they know your Achilles heel. And when they see that you are in a weakened state, they push you. They don't allow you to stay there. And then people that you can pay it forward with. So I've got those types of folks in my life. So I've got mentors for a lot of different things. So mentorship means a lot to me, because what I realized at various points in my life, that everything is not always about the family having that front row seat. in the orchestra seat section. So I've got various mentors. I've got a couple of really good God girlfriends that I can be naked and not ashamed with, and take this wig off, honey, and listen, no eyelashes and go for broke. And then I've got those and then I've got those folks, like Greg Shoemate, who holds me accountable from a business perspective, so that I'm constantly cutting edge, so that, again, this nonprofit is not a not-for-profit. This is a business with a mission and a vision. So I've got an orchestra seat section of people in my life.
Absolutely.
That reminds me, I call mine the bus. And when you're driving towards success and you're the driver, and everyone on that you've met, no matter how brief or how long, they're like in those seats, and people move around on those seats, and you have to allow them to. There's one thing I want to say, Celeste, and I know that we're probably getting ready to introduce our next guest, about people and how we may perceive ourselves. I don't know if you guys have seen that cartoon, and it's a man sitting at a desk, and in front of him is like an elephant, a seal, a bird, a dog. And he says, okay, for this next test, this next equal test, I want everyone to climb that tree. And there's a tree also in the picture. Well, the elephant's not ever going to get up that tree. The seal is not. The bird is not going to climb. He's going to fly. So he's going to be disqualified based off of the rule, right? And we in life have to realize that everyone, you might be that elephant, you might be that seal, you might be the dog that can run up that tree because the tree was leaning, but that's not your natural instinct. But we all are so valuable when we're in our greatness. And so don't compare yourself to other people. Like, you might have someone whose career is taken off and yours is stagnant at this time or whatever. Don't compare yourself to others. Find your greatness. Because everything, even that fish that was laying on the ground, is never going to have anything happen in that lineup. But drop that fish in water, and it's going to do some things that not even the seal could do. And so just understand your greatness, identify it and know it, and stand in that. So.
Absolutely. So, Deirdra, is there anything you would like for our audience and listeners to know about your nonprofit?
I want people to really understand that in this day and time that we're in, economic mobility is critical. Those 4 pillars that I talked about, the social, emotional wellness, educational attainment, being a subject matter expert at something. At this particular juncture, we are not proponents of somebody going to school for 4 years, especially with the population I'm working with. But there are skill sets out there that you can get good, solid certifications towards that are going to put you in a livable wage plus career opportunity. And then the discipline required if you're going to work for someone, being able to be a teammate that's a valuable teammate, somebody who is employable and promotable, and identifying that career path that will cause you to continually level up. And then financial literacy for me, Celeste, I want people to understand that finances are something that God has called all of us to steward well and wisely, and we're all responsible for leaving a legacy to our children. So I want people to understand the importance of continuously putting their hand to the plow of that something that generates more than they need to sustain themselves, so that they can save and so that they can leave a legacy for their children. So thank you for allowing me to share that piece. That's so important to me that people know that.
Absolutely. So, Sherita, any closing comments with Deirdra here of your takeaways from today of what she shared with us?
From what she was just saying, even using the words financial literacy, so often people have not heard those terms. And just understand that it is about learning and understanding money. And so by Deirdra focusing on that and using the language of that alone will help individuals to hear those terms and mean that is also me. And it's very important for people to know that. And then also those that may not choose to go to college, Deirdra, I'm glad that you said, touched on that, because the vocational careers are lacking individuals with that have the qualified experience to go into those careers, whether it's plumbing or anything like that. And they don't have to go and get that 4-year degree. So with people understanding that they have that option and to not feel less than. So I'm glad that you also touched on that. And I'm really glad that you came on today as one of our esteemed guests.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you ladies so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wait to meet Myrna.
Yes. All right. Well, we're at almost at the bottom of the hour here. And Myrna, we're so glad that you have joined us here with Show Ability. And this has been a great hour. And I think we'll have a little bit of time in the end that we can have a total group call with all four of us. So Myrna, what I would love for you to do, I have met you through a dear friend of mine, Lisa Parks with ImageCon. And I would love for you to share a little bit about you, yourself, and Showability, if you would, for our audience and listeners.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this wonderful platform. I am a professional singer. I'm a U.S. Cultural Ambassador selected by the U.S. State Department to represent American music abroad, where we perform for U.S. embassies around the world, my band and I. And in that process, I started a nonprofit for performing artists across the disability spectrum. I happen to have seen a young boy struggle to get up 3 steps into a church pulpit. And when he started singing, he was amazing, forgot all about his challenges. And about a few years later, I began asking friends of mine, because you can imagine, I know a number of musicians, choir directors, school, music teachers, and not one person knew a person with a disability who could sing. And that just didn't make sense to me. I have an MBA, and so my corporate training is in new product and new business development. And so just I didn't know the statistics at the time, but that just didn't make common sense to me that you knew no one. And what I've come to find out is that the disability community is hidden in plain view. We in the general population, I believe, have been taught not to point and not to stare. And so as a result, rather than dealing with some adult in our head, even as adults, I still hear someone in my head saying, "Stop that, don't point," And so for our safety and sanity, we just ignore. And so as a result, we don't pay attention to that. And so anyway, Showability is about empowering talented performing artists with disabilities to give them the confidence to showcase their talent on stage. Our goal, our North Star, is to be for the arts and entertainment industry what the Paralympics and the Special Olympics are for the sports industry, showcasing talent and excellence, because we know it's there. It's just not been embraced. As a matter of fact, oftentimes when I'll ask someone, "Do you know any singers?" Just now, general, no one thinks of Stevie Wonder. And he has a disability, but we don't think about him as having a disability. And so it's that kind of situation where and so why does a blind person need sunglasses? For what? It's for us. It's not for them. And so it's all kinds of things that are in the space of the disability community. And so we know that it's arts and entertainment that change that make social change. And so we want to be a part of creating social change, to change the stigma narrative within the disability community. We use music and arts as our platform to do that. And so there's not another organization like ours in the country. And so we're making strides based here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're wanting to be that thought leader, that catalyst that changes the lives and changes the trajectory of all people with disabilities.
Absolutely. And I want to throw this in there because you used the name Stevie Wonder. I remember, I don't know, maybe 8-9 years ago, I was in Toronto, Canada at the airport, and Stevie Wonder was in the airport right there, and he was on the same flight that I was on. And I want you to know, the most wonderful, nicest individual in the world. I had my picture taken with him. But, the thing of it is, and, people were coming up to him, and he had all the time in the world just to talk to those people, to love on those people. And that was, to me, it touched my heart.
Very, very good, because it as an entertainer, he understands his audience,
Yes.
And so it matters to him as an entertainer to make sure that, because the next time he comes to Toronto, you might buy a ticket. Let's be clear. It's about business. It's about entertainment and knowing our audience. And so as an entertainer, we better be kind to you.
Yeah. Well, as I was listening to you, just last week, I posted this young lady playing the violin, and she didn't have a right arm.
Yes.
So she was holding the violin with her left arm, and she had something mounted that would allow her shoulder to be her movement.
Movement, yes.
And I said, anytime if we think that we can't do something or we feel, we're going to complain, I said, think of this young lady. And, and so with you saying that, I mean, even when we think of, Ray Charles, until you said it, when you were saying, do I know anyone with a disability that's an entertainer, Ray Charles nor Stevie Wonder came to my mind because they're so magnificent. But one thing that has come to mind, and that's just with me working with another nonprofit, is that so often the reason why we may not know a disabled entertainer is so often because of the pointing or people looking, their self-esteem may have been so pushed down that once someone lets them know really how great they are, or just, gives them that time, like you're doing with your organization, I can't wait to now watch Showability and see the progress that you're making. So with that, what programs do you offer?
Thank you. We started off with talent shows because you're absolutely right. It's giving an opportunity, giving a person with a talent the opportunity to showcase their gift and build that self-confidence. And so that's where we started. And then with the pandemic, we had to shift and pivot like everybody else. And so we began offering virtual masterclass programs where we actually feature performers or persons connected to the disability community in the arts space. And so we have once a month, every fourth Sunday at 4:00, we have master classes. And now we're calling them pathways because this year we're very much so wanting to help people understand how someone got to where they are. Wherever they are on that trajectory, we want to know how they did from start to finish, how they got there. In addition, we started an inclusive chorus, which is made up of talented singers with and without disabilities. I tell people all the time, showability is not a kumbaya. Oh, isn't that nice, patronizing? No, I'm a professional singer. And so they've got to be talented. They've got to be good at what they do. And so we have the inclusive chorus. And that's really us efforting to mainstream, to show that this is a person's visible and invisible disabilities along with the general population. And so we have the inclusive chorus. And then we also, because of what we do, we are being sought after by casting agents looking for actors on the disability spectrum. And so we are now starting to become managers because in this space, because I become the mama bear. It's like, wait a minute, are the accommodations right? I'm very thoughtful and vigilant about how they're being treated as actors on the screen. And for the first time, we were able to place, for the first time in a major film series, a production assistant crew member on the autism spectrum, and that had not happened before. And so we were very pleased to be able to do that. And so we're doing a lot of innovative things in the space of arts and entertainment, giving them the platforms to not only perform, but at the end of the day, this is about employment. This is about them getting paid for what they do, for their talent, for their skills. And so operating in that gig economy, that's a little bit new for people. Well, it's being in that space. And so those are our programs that we have. This year, 2023, we're actually wanting to go into the school systems and find young school age youth with talent, because in the school systems, I played in the band. I played flute. I sang in church, but I played in the band at school. And I can tell you that band directors, chorus instructors, theater coaches don't recruit students. Students sign up for those programs. And so when I've asked my friends who are in the school system, do you know any talented students, that have a disability? They say, no, we don't know any. And so, again, you have to sign up for that program. And so we want to go into the school system and, first of all, identify them, and then to expose them to the talent, and then train them to allow them to mainstream. And so we're really efforting, because, again, a program like that doesn't exist in the school system. And these are for students that have a 504 program, meaning like a person that's blind or deaf, or a wheelchair user. Those that are in the special education classes, they're getting music therapy, and there may be some of them that are talented, can come to the training and be able to intellectually be able to do it too. And so, but we're looking for those students now, and so we're expanding our programming to try to get at the younger students, because we we get those that are over 21 because they are opt out of school, they transition out of school. But those that are protected by mom and dad, you know, don't necessarily get the opportunity or the exposure to be able to perform.
Very interesting. So what events do you have coming up in 2023, Myrna?
Woohoo! I'm so excited to share. This July, which is, first of all, we separate our events into those things that are disability-oriented categories. And so this month, we actually just had a press day where we reached out to media to tell them about showability and to tell them about the disability community, because oftentimes we don't have a platform like yours, which I'm very grateful for, to talk about the disability community. July, and so March is Disability Awareness Month. July is the time when the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, was signed into law. July 26, 1990 was signed into law. And so that makes this year our 33rd anniversary of ADA being signed into law. And so we're having a huge event for that. We're having a pep rally. And we are garnering lots of different disability-oriented organizations that are across the state of Georgia to come together in Atlanta to have a pep rally. And I'm real psyched about the pep rally because we've been, you know, kind of remote and not able to get out and have a good time. And so this allows us to get out, get loud, and just celebrate just being able to be out and and have a good time. And so we're going to be not only featuring talented artists on the disability spectrum, but also sharing information, whether it be about health, about voting. I mean, ADA is legislation, so we can talk about all things dealing with legislation, voting, your health rights, all disability rights. We can talk about all of that, and interspersed in there is a lot of talent, and so that's going to be going on. And then October is Disability Employment Awareness Month, and so we're having our gala then, and we're going to be offering an awards ceremony, and we're really excited about the gala because this will be our very first gala that we're doing. And so we've got that, and then of course monthly, every month. We just had our very first one this past Sunday, the fourth Sunday of every month. We're featuring our pathways, and last month we featured a young lady who's a burgeoning performing artist singer. And she has she just released her EP, and so we're doing that. And so we're so excited about what's coming in 2023. I'm just psyched about it. Getting with the school systems too, with the Year of the Youth, but definitely in July, I'm so pumped about it because we're really getting out there to let people know that the disability community is alive and well, and you need to see them and see us supporting them. So it's because it's not an us and them situation. It's all about us all together showcasing our talent.
Well, you know, something that just came to mind, Sherita, when Myrna was talking about this, every year in May, Women of Community Impact does a nice meal for homeless women and children at the Home of Hope Gwinnett Children's Shelter. Last year was the first year that we brought some entertainment in, and we had a young lady that did a phenomenal job, I think, and she came in and sang. And I would love to talk to you to see if maybe one of the I don't know the clients or who they are, have the proper wording for that, with disabilities would love to come in and perform something for the homeless women and children at Home of Hope. I think that would be a phenomenal story to share right there.
That would be awesome. And yes, we just call them artists and performers.
Okay.
And so, yes, absolutely. Let's definitely talk offline because we would love to be able to do that, whether that be the inclusive chorus or a segment of the inclusive chorus or just an artist or soloist. Either way, absolutely, we would love that because for us, it's about exposure, but it's also about changing, again, that stigma narrative. And the more we see people who are sharing their uniqueness, then the more that we will say, oh, of course. Let me just share with you, because in 2019, 3 significant things happened. First and foremost, Cody Lee won the top prize for America's Got Talent. Cody Lee, blind and on the autism spectrum, won America's Got Talent. That was number 1. Number 2, Ali Stroker, she's an actress, won Best Actress for Oklahoma in Broadway. Now, she's a wheelchair user, Oklahoma didn't have any parts in in that production for a wheelchair user. So obviously she was performing and she did excellently. Guess what? They have to lift her on stage every night to perform because the stages are not accessible.
That's what
And
I was.
so yet she won Best Actress. Okay. And then number three, there's a documentary called Crip Camp. And if you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's on Netflix. It won Best Documentary at Sundance Film Festival and was nominated for an Oscar in 2019. And it's about a summer camp that was for teenagers with disabilities, and how these teenagers back in the 70s followed the civil rights movement strategies and did sit-ins and marches and ultimately led to the 504 plan that exists today. And because that passed in the 70s, and if you know of Judy Heumann, she was one of the leaders in that movement because she was one of the camp counselors at that camp in the 70s. The camp is called Camp Gen Ed, and one of the camp counselors is on our board. And so that one, and so those two things in 2019 really started shifting, and more. That's why you're starting to see more and more persons with disabilities appear on programs, and just kind of just a natural thing, as it should be. Statistics: 26% of the U.S. population have a disability. 1 in 4 people. If you add one family member to that, that's more than half the U.S. population that's connected to the disability community. There's no reason for them to be hidden. There's no reason for us to be weird. And so it's a huge opportunity. And so we're excited about that.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Sherita.
Well, I was just before you were spoke, I was thinking you're getting ready to impact, like how you said the young man that couldn't at the church couldn't go up to perform. Your organization is truly going to impact where organizations are not ADA compliant because they just haven't thought about those individuals that can't get up there. But also the young lady that just signed for Rihanna at the Super Bowl. I mean, that was a first. And so your organization is going to continue to bring more and more of those individuals to the forefront and help with their employability, their showcasing their talents, because this young lady, just to watch her when she was signing for Rihanna, she made you want to watch her. I mean, I heard Rihanna, but she was so animated and she made me want to learn sign. And so I just can imagine all of the changes that are going to come about because of you bringing these talented individuals to the forefront. And then, like one of the nonprofits I'm working with right now, he is going in and inspecting, not on a watchdog kind of perspective, but just letting organizations and businesses know how they're missing business by not being ADA compliant, by not paying attention that their parking lots are so full of holes that individuals with wheelchairs and on walkers or have any kind of even blind walking with their canes or whatever, how that is a hazard, how those individuals won't come back, whether it's a restaurant or whatever, because of the danger to even try and get into the restaurant. So your organization is going to impact a whole nother perspective of how people think about those that have any kind of disability. So I'm really proud to know you, to get to know you. And that being said, why you kind of touched on it, but I'm sure that you've got even more of a reason on why performing artists and disabilities. Why is that a main focus for you?
Well, the main thing is really that's I'm a professional singer. I left corporate America to pursue my passion, to pursue my calling. And I see the disability community. I don't see them. It was an assignment, a spiritual assignment given to me, because God brought it back to me and for me to look for that young boy, because I was just really looking for him. I wasn't looking to start an organization. I was looking for him because I was like, he was so amazing. Where is he? And you guys, I still have not found him. I don't know where he is. He should be in his mid-20s now, or early 20s now. I don't know where he is. But he was the catalyst and for me looking. And then once I saw that, again, my background is new product and new business development. And so when no one knew a person with disabilities, at that point, I'm saying there's a huge need here. There's a huge opportunity within a population that's unmet. There's an unmet need. When we think about the disability community, we're not thinking about arts and talent. We're thinking about negative things, or we're not thinking about the positive things. And they're human beings, period. They have the same desires and wants that we all do.
Mhm.
And so that's what led me. And again, because I understand as an artist that it's arts that makes social change happen. It's the arts that puts it up there. Just speaking personally, as a Black person, it was the Black artists that said we're not going to perform in a segregated hall anymore. That was accompanied with the legislation, accompanied with all the other things. They were saying no, and we're willing to not take the money because we're not doing this anymore. We see the people out there having a great time, so we're not going to do it anymore. And so it's the artists that are on the front line of social change.
Absolutely. So, Myrna, we have about 4 minutes left. What I would like for you to do, could you tell our listeners and audience how can they get in touch with you, your website, your email, phone number, however you would like, if any of our audiences are interested?
Thank you. Thank you for that, because I'll just talk, as you can see.
That's okay.
Our website is showability, all one word, showability.org. And the best way to reach us is through email, and that's showability1, the number 1, @gmail.com. We are available on all social media platforms, just Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, under Showability. They can definitely contact us in all of those platforms and reach us there. And we are doing what we do, and we're looking for talent. And so if there are persons that you know of that are talented, here's what I ask people to do. Don't give that person my information. Contact me and give me their information. Because again, because of the self-esteem issues that you guys have talked about, they may not contact me. But if somebody recommends them, I'm going to contact them and ask them to share with me, or let me hear, or tell me where they're going to be performing. I've had people call as far away as Philadelphia or looking to be a part of Showability. And so, yes, one of the things that I've been saying that we need is a venture philanthropist. I came up with that phrase because we need persons who already know that the return on their investment is going to be changed lives.
Okay.
And that can help us do that.
Can you give your email address one more time, please? Please repeat that.
Sure, I'll spell it. It's showability1 @gmail, but it's SHOWABILITY, the number 1 @gmail.com.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Deirdra, I would like for you to tell information about how people can get a hold of you, but I would love for you to summarize our talk with Myrna and your takeaway and your perspective.
Oh my. So Myrna, I see so many points and places where we can collaborate, because we are in the schools, and I see the autistic babies. It was drama that saved my life in New York City. You weren't here earlier, but we talked about just leadership and my ego perspective, but it was the arts that saved my life. So drama is the reason that I can stand flat-footed and I can deliver a 30-second elevator pitch like nobody's business. And I sing a little bit. So what I see is the work that you're doing. I saw a couple of things. You have got an organization that is truly an economic and community development asset. You got master classes, you're doing pathways classes, you're doing inclusive courses. You've got things that people need. You've taken your subject matter expertise and turned it into an enterprise. And what you're doing is you're creating and building lives and careers. Your disabled populations will be self-sufficient. I'm talking economic mobility. That's what you're setting them up to do, to become economically mobile. So I need to know you, lady, so that I can introduce you into the Gwinnett County public school system and other school systems that we're a part of. So yes.
Thank you.
That's what I got. I'm sorry, that's what I got.
Very good. Very good. And Real quick, like Deirdra, how can people get a hold of you, your name of your company, and how they get a hold of you, please?
Yes, Community Sustainability Enterprise. Our website is www.community, S as in Sam, E as in Edward.org. The best way to reach us for volunteer opportunities is to email me, Deirdra, Deirdra, at community, COMMUNITY, S as in Sam, E as in Edward.org. We're going to be hosting, we've got a grant from United Way that we're going to be implementing next month through the end of the year. We do work with Trees Atlanta for 8 weeks in the summer. We need subject matter experts to come alongside of us and teach some of the financial best practices. And we will be hosting our Resources for Economic and Community Development Impact Summit on October the 24th this year, where our topic will be heirs property. We're going to untangle some title so some Black folks can get some equity back and use it right.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Sherita, would
Thank
you
you.
like to give us some closing comments before I finish us off, please?
Well, just back to talking about the show ability, which is such an amazing name. A lot of people don't realize, and I hope I don't get this wrong, the creator of Cats, the play,
Oh.
when she was in school, they were first going to diagnose her as having a disability and attention how do you say it? But when her mother took her to the doctor and he saw how she reacted to music, he turned the radio on and asked the mother to come out of the room. And then they left the door cracked and watched her come alive. And so it's about people recognizing who you are and what your needs are. And so again, it's so wonderful to meet you, Myrna and Deirdra. I mean, both of you. I'm just so happy, Celeste, that you had me on the show and that I was able to meet these two absolutely amazing women. I thank you for letting me co-host with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you, ladies. This has been an awesome show here. Very informative, educational for our communities, not only just in Georgia, but we're international, worldwide. So we thank you for all the information you shared with our listeners here today. I'm Celeste Giordano, your show host, along with Sherita, and we are glad to have you here. And we wish you a wonderful and blessed day. And also, I want us to continue to lift these people that have had unforeseen circumstances in their life in the last week, with the people in Mississippi and the tornadoes, the Nashville school shooting victims. It's weighing real heavy on my heart that we need to turn this over, and we really need to pray for the communities for these people. And ladies, we look forward to seeing you at events, and I will be in touch with you, Myrna, about our service project, Women in Community Impact, for maybe having one of your artists at our event.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, WCEG. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.